My first knowledge of any abuse was in November of 2020. And Susie called me and said there had been an incident at my granddaughter's preschool. And she told me that something had happened where a little boy touched her and her friend. And so she called me and asked me, would I go to the school with her? And I said, absolutely. So I went with her to the school. We reported it to the school. And of course, you know, I was there to encourage, and as I would for any child, but especially my granddaughter.
Yes. Of course, yes.
And so that was the incident that happened. And yet, you know, what's being written is just taken out of context. That was the incident that happened in 2020, and I was there. And Susie actually called me to go there.
Okay, so the word about you covering up, there's no truth to that.
You know, when I started hearing that, I thought to myself, what am I covering up? I've covered up nothing.
Right.
And so I never covered up anything. Now, there was another incident written about that was an incident that happened at our family retreat. This was in 2021. Okay. We were all staying in this house together, and again, we do that once a year. And my two older grandchildren were staying in an upstairs bedroom, and it was a long room, and there was a bunk bed on one side, and there was another bunk bed on the other side. And so my grandson was talking about that he had the city view, and he was saying his sister had the beach view.
Okay.
And so one afternoon he was talking about that, and who they call Pete was in the room holding a 1-year-old baby boy, okay? And so Pete says, oh, so you've got the city view, and everybody was talking about, well, I'd rather have the beach view, and my grandson saying, no, I like the city view. And Pete said, well, I like the city view too. And so he said, I want to see your city view. So they went up the stairs.
The grandson and Pete, and Pete had the baby.
The grandson, Pete, and the baby. Now, all those details have been left out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they went up the steps, and again, I was there. I heard this whole conversation. And around the same time, or maybe just a few minutes after, I don't know exactly when, but my granddaughter went up to the room and went over to her side while Pete and the baby and my grandson were looking out the window at the city view.
Okay.
And she proceeded to put her bathing suit on. Well, about the time she started to put it on, Jonathan comes running up the stairs.
Her dad.
And says, what are you doing in here while she's changing? You know, what are you doing? You know, and Pete was like, well, I'm sorry. I don't even know if he actually saw anything.
Because he had his back to her.
Because he was holding the baby and the 8-year-old was there. So he said, you know, I'm so sorry, and left. But there had been some very peculiar things that have happened at this particular trip. I remember when we were at the grocery store, all the family was there, because when we always go to the grocery store and get food for breakfast and that kind of thing. And I remember Susie was standing in line, and she began to murmur under her breath and start talking about a man that was behind her. And she was getting angrier and angrier, and we were like, what's going on? And she, you know, she said, you know, he was looking at me, you know, in the store. And the man is like on his phone, not knowing what in the world she's saying or doing. We were just trying to calm her down. So it was just a weird dynamic that was going on with her from the beginning.
Right. I know that you called me from Florida and told me that it was a tough time as a family. And I know that when families get together like that, a lot of times there are times that you disagree about things, or things happen.
Well, I mean, what happened was Marcus was alive, and so we just met together as a family. He talked to everyone, and clearly nothing happened.
Yeah. Speaking of Pastor Marcus, first I want to say thanks for the opportunity. You've always been easy to talk to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
very transparent.
You know, very transparent. And so I want to ask you, because Susie said that you and Pastor Marcus covered it up. Did you cover it up?
You know, Marcus isn't here, but I will just say absolutely a lie. I never covered up anything. I wouldn't cover up anything. Marcus didn't cover up anything. And so again, this is a narrative that was written by some low-level blogger who knows nothing, never heard the other side of the story, and is doing nothing but trying to destroy my family.
Sensationalized.
Before her passing, Joni Lamb openly spoke about the family challenges and public allegations that surrounded the ministry she helped build. She acknowledged that being in the public eye often brought intense scrutiny, especially when personal family matters became intertwined with the business of running one of the world's largest Christian television networks. Despite the pressure, she consistently emphasized her faith in God as her source of strength. Joni reflected on the difficult season following the death of her husband, Marcus Lamb, describing it as one of the most painful experiences of her life. She shared how grief affected every part of the family and how the transition of leadership at Daystar was not without emotional tension. According to her, losing Marcus left a void that deeply impacted both the ministry and their personal relationships. One of the most talked about challenges involved reports of tension between Joni and her son, Jonathan Lamb. Speculation circulated that disagreements emerged over leadership expectations after Marcus's passing. Some reports suggested Jonathan believed he would take a greater role in the network's future, but Joni maintained that all decisions were made prayerfully and with the ministry's mission as the top priority. Joni addressed these allegations carefully, stating that family disagreements are painful but not uncommon, especially when ministry and personal expectations collide. She explained that while there were moments of misunderstanding, her desire was always for healing and restoration rather than division. She often urged supporters not to rush to judgment based on public rumors. Another area of controversy surrounded Joni's marriage to Doug Weiss after Marcus's death. Critics questioned the timing and circumstances of the relationship, while some family supporters expressed discomfort publicly. Joni defended her decision by saying she had prayed extensively and believed God had brought Doug into her life for companionship and support during a season of profound loss. She also spoke against what she described as false narratives spread online about internal operations at Daystar Television Network. Joni insisted that many accusations misrepresented the reality of what was happening behind closed doors. She stressed that leadership decisions were not driven by favoritism or personal ambition, but by what she believed was best for the ministry's long-term stability. During interviews and ministry broadcasts, Joni often reminded viewers that spiritual work frequently faces attacks, both external and internal. She interpreted many of the public allegations as part of the spiritual battles that often accompany large ministries. Rather than responding with anger, she encouraged prayer for everyone involved. Despite the controversy, Joni repeatedly expressed love for her children and hope for reconciliation. She spoke warmly of the years they had served together and acknowledged that pain can sometimes create distance within families. Yet she held firmly to the belief that God could restore broken relationships in His perfect timing. Supporters admired her willingness to remain composed while facing criticism. Even when addressing difficult accusations, she rarely spoke harshly about family members. Instead, she focused on forgiveness, grace, and trusting God to reveal truth over time. In her final reflections on these matters, Joni encouraged believers to stay faithful during seasons of testing. She said that every family faces storms, but faith determines whether those storms destroy or strengthen relationships. Her words served as a reminder that even public leaders face private battles, and perseverance through hardship remains one of faith's greatest testimonies.